Hello, I'm back for another video. My name is Josh Tastic, and today is my fairy tale review. Now, fairy tale is an interesting anime because, well, it really has to do with all magic, and it's but it's different because it feels more like superhero powers powered up by magical power. It's very different than what the current show is going on right now called Black Clover. Now, Black Clover is definitely more darker than this show is, but this show can be dark at times. But essentially in Black Clover, that's what magic you think would be. You have spells, you have magical books called grimoires with spells in it. Very what you think magic to be. Well, this is very different because there isn't necessary spells. It's just you do powers, and they're what they, like I said, describe it as magical power. And how it works is that, well, this magical power comes from lacrima. And in this current era, within fairy tale, lacrima is everywhere. It's in the air. And what wizards or mages, what they're both called that within the show, they absorb this lacrima into the body. Not like they forcibly absorb into their body. It's just a natural thing. And it builds up, and you would strengthen your powers and stuff so that the more lacrima you can absorb more lacrima, but there isn't like a set amount of lacrima you could have. I mean, there are limitations just on your skill level, really, and I think your body as well. But essentially, when you use up a lot of your magic, you're going to run out of that lacrima. But eventually, when you rest and stuff like that, eventually that lacrima will re-go into your body and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it works. So, and it all takes place. The show takes place in a land called Fiore. Now, Fiore is Fiore is just one country within the show, but there are multiple ones. But it's just the main focus. And it has a kingdom, but it also has a magical council that runs all the magical guilds. And the show focuses on one guild in particular, the strongest guild, Fairy Tale. Not fairy tale as in telling a story fairy tale, but as in tale as in a tail, like how most animals have tails. And the reason behind that is because the first master, Mavis Vermilion, who was the original founder of the show, or not the show, the guild, she really was into fairies, although she never met one. So her question was, do fairies have tails? And so that's why it was dubbed Fairy Tale. And so that's kind of how it is. Now, there's a specific group in the Fairy Tale Guild that the show focuses on. But you do get to see a focus on all of the characters at some point, kind of joining the group and missions here and there, as well as fighting big and fighting like evil and stuff like that when it comes about. But the Pacific group, you got Natsu Dragneel. He is a fire dragon he's a dragon slayer, or fire dragon slayer. That's a better way of phrasing it. See, he was actually raised by a dragon and learned to use magic from a dragon. And so when you have a person trained by a dragon to use magic, they use dragon magic, and that dragon magic is called for a human, not for the dragon, but for the human. It's called Dragon Slayer magic. And so since he was raised by a fire dragon to use fire dragon magic, he is a fire dragon slayer. And then he has his psychic / he raised from an egg, which is a thing called an eldest cat. Now the eldest cat is named Happy. He's blue, and his powers, well, pretty much all eldest cats have powers to fly. Like they pop out wings and can fly, and they technically can learn other magic, but we don't really get to see that except for one eldest cat. And all Dragon Slayers have an eldest cat for some reason, but going more in depth with the eldest cats is an entire arc, so there's just a lot to that. But yeah, so you raise it from an egg. For some reason, these eldest cats go from an egg. And so yeah, so Happy, and then kind of Natsu's love interest, who joins the guild after, well, is Lucy Heartfilia. She wasn't originally part of the guild in the beginning of the show, but Natsu asked her to join the guild, and they become partners / best friends, and technically love interest, although the show doesn't really actually do that. And there's a lot more hints to them ending up together in the 100-year quest, which is not animated yet, but I hope it does get animated. Hopefully at the end of that run they do end up together. Although at the end of the series, Natsu seemed like he's going to tell her that he loved her, but instead he backtracks and says, you know what, we're always going to be together forever. So it's like it's kind of the same thing, but just not as potent, or as I say I love you, but we'll get what we want, right? But her powers is celestial spirits. So she can summon celestial spirits that do battle for her. Although she did learn combat so she could fight, she eventually gets a whip, as well as in the final season she gets like the celestial dress or whatever. I forgot what it's actually called, but essentially when she summons a celestial spirit, her outfit changes to kind of coincide with the celestial spirit she summoned, and this just increases her magical powers and fighting combat. So there's that. And now there are silver keys and golden keys. Silver keys are just the normal celestial spirits, while the golden keys are actually kind of royalty. They are the zodiac keys, and she eventually gets most of them except for like I think 2 or 3, but that belongs to another celestial user, and they become friends and stuff. So it doesn't really matter that she doesn't get those keys. The other ones actually came from bad guys, which she defeated. So, but that's besides the point. So you pretty much have all that, and then you have Gray Fullbuster. See, he has actually a sad backstory. But pretty much all the characters have sad backstories, to be honest with you. It's kind of like a little too much, so you might not like that because it's like overboard on that, but I don't really care. But he controls ice maker magics, meaning he can make anything out of ice, although he eventually gets ice demon slayer magic, not dragon, demon slayer magic. So there's that as well. And he basically he was taught by his master, which is part of his sad backstory. And then not this, what I'm talking about is sad. There's another point with his master that's sad. He basically, she taught him and another person, ice maker magic. But part of the thing is like getting adapted to the cold. So her and she had them as well as her stripped to their underwear and really absorbed the cold, which is really weird. But so he got like this bad habit, but he doesn't actually like take off his clothes. It just happens. It's like down to his boxers, just his clothes somehow just come off. Like they don't really explain why that happens, but it's really played for laughs, but still very, very weird. Then you have Ursa. Now Ursa is an S mage or S class mage, and like I said, there's different rankings or classes, and S mage is pretty much high up under the master, and she actually did that as a young age. But she's kind of the mother figure of the guild. She doesn't. She's very tough. A lot of people are a little bit scared, but she's mostly a mother figure to Gray and Natsu. And I forgot, Gray and Natsu are not the best of friends at first because they're really rivals with Ice and Fire. But even though they still fight and still have this rivalry, but they definitely eventually become good best friends as well. So there's that as well. And Ursa's power is equip magic, so she has these different types of armor she can equip to, like really fast. And each armor has a sword, although she can actually use the sword from another armor using a different armor, so she doesn't actually have to have the sword that belongs to the specific armor as well. And so there's that. Then you have eventually joining this Natsu team, not right away, but almost like I think like it was a third arc against Arashi and Sace. Wendy, Marvel, and Carla joined the team Natsu. Now Wendy is a wind dragon slayer, and she can actually heal people with her powers. And then Carla is her eldest cat, and Carla is Happy's kind of love interest. So there's that. And then after the first arc, not joining Natsu's group, but joining Fairy Tail, our Juvia, she controls water, and she kind of immediately fell in love with Gray, and it's just played throughout the laughs throughout the show, and it took forever for Gray to finally reciprocate her feelings. Then you have Gajiel, who joins the group. He's a Iron Dragon Slayer, and he was actually brutally beat up a girl named Levy and her two friends in her team, because guilds, like I said, have this. Guilds can have their own inner teams, and now Levy is one of like kind of other friends that became friends with Lucy, and she has her other two friends were Jet, who can run, and another guy I think is named Droy or Dre. I can't remember, but I don't know his power. He just got really fat, which really plays for laugh. But in the beginning, they were really beat up by Gajiel. But which is funny is because Gajiel eventually becomes a really nice guy, and Levy and him actually fall in love. And in the 100-year quest, she's actually pregnant with his child, which is kind of weird because they never really got married, but they do kind of admit that they love each other at the end of this series. And at the very end, Lucy kind of overheard Levy whispering to Gajiel. She didn't really hear everything. All she heard was word baby, and so it's very vague because we don't know if she was already pregnant here or she was asking Gajiel to make a baby with her. I don't know which one's which, but it is confirmed that she is pregnant in the 100-year quest. And Wendy also heard it because she has very good hearing. Next characters, you have the Master Makarov. He's actually the son of the original, one of the original founders, and he I don't know his exact powers, but his main power is to grow big. That's the one he mostly uses throughout the show. Then you have let's see, Loxus is his grandson. Loxus' father was actually kicked out of the guild for being bad, but Loxus controls thunder, although it's more lightning. But whatever, every show, every like meta gets that wrong. There's a difference between thunder and lightning. Lightning is the actual like static, electricity, stuff like that. Thunder is the sound. People really need to get the difference between that, but pretty much every iteration of lightning is usually called thunder for some weird reason. But he's in charge of the Thunder Legion, made out of evergreen. Her power, I don't know exactly all her power, but her main power is she took off her glasses, and when she looks at people, they could turn to stone. You have Big Slow, which controls dolls, and Freed. He controls script magic, like Levy. Levy controls script magic. I do want to mention that. He has this obsession to be a servant of Loxus. Like, it's really kind of a bad case of obsession of wanting to be his servant. It's really kind of weird. But other than that, you have those. And then there's so many other characters. Then you have Mary Jane. She's an S-class, just like Ursa and Loxus. So that definitely, but she controls transformation magic as well as the demon soul magic. So when she does battle with a demon, she actually defeated them and then absorbed them into their bodies, and then she could transform into them as well as using their powers. She has a brother named Elfman. Now Elfman is Evergreen's love interest, and he controls transformation magic as well, but he usually turns into a big giant beast, and he doesn't have the same exact powers as Mary Jane. And then then they have a little sister named Lysana, which is actually Natsu's first friend slash kind of love interest, but supposedly she died, but then she came back. But she also has control. She has transformation magic. Then you have Kano, who's kind of drinking all the time. She controls car maker magic. And then her father is Gildart's Clave, an S-Mage and the most powerful guild member, but he barely appears on the show. And he doesn't even know that Kana is his daughter, which is an entire arc of Kana trying to tell him that she is his daughter. See, his wife left him because he's always away, and so he never found out about his daughter. So there's that. And then you have a guy named Makio Kobo. I don't know his powers, but at one time he became the fourth master, and he has a son named Romeo who learned how to use different fire magics because he looks up to Natsu. And then kind of Mako's a kind of psychic type thing is Wakaba. I forgot his name, but that was pretty much all the important characters in Fairy Tail. Oh, I forgot. Like I said, all Dragon Slayers get kind of a cat. So I did talk about Carla. Carla, I forgot to mention, Carla does learn transformation magic. She normally just turns into a human looking thing, and that's near the end. She's the only one that actually learns another magic other than flying. And then Gajio gets a cat as well, Panther Lily. The only thing is he can actually go really giant, almost like human-like, but still looking like a cat, and he has this big giant sword. His name, and then that's pretty much all the important characters. Characters to the Fairy Tail Guild. And so yeah, so the main plot of these guilds is that they go on missions to get money, and there's like an entire board with different missions on the board that people around Fiore are looking for mages to help them, and then they go off to get the money. But that's not the main focus, because there's a lot of dark guilds that they have to face throughout the series. A demon guild, and even a dark guild that's run by the second master, who turned evil because, well, I'll get to that point a little bit later. And then at the end, they have to do with Xerath and Agnologia. Now, Xerath is a 400-year-old wizard who doesn't look 400 years ago, because 400 years ago he tried bringing back his brother back to life, or tried studying how to bring people back to life, and then he became cursed for doing that. To basically everything around him dies, and he's also immortal. And you know who his brother is? Natsu Dragneel. That's right. See, he created demons, and so that demon that would be able to kill him because he wanted to die. Well, he brought back his brother as one of these demons called END. But Natsu had no idea of this. He was actually Xerath actually gave Natsu to a dragon, Igneel, to raise him and get fire magic, and then with the help of one of Lucy's ancestors, using the Eclipse Gate, which is only run by the keys of Celestial Spirit, they go into 400 years in the future to this timeline as a kid, and assume like the dragons all disappear, but they actually went to their body, the Dragon Slayer bodies, so that they don't become dragons just like Agnologia. See, Agnologia is a Dragon Slayer that went too far, that became a dragon, so they have to deal with him, and it finds out that Natsu is actually a demon, and at first, but they were actually able to save him and defeat. But it turns out that Xerath is actually in love with Mavis, because Mavis actually got the same curse by accident, and they kind of kissed, but then his curse was stronger, so she fell asleep, and somehow she got magically impregnated with their child, and with the help of the second master, who basically dived into dark arts to wake up Mavis. So that's why he turned evil. He helped her give birth, but none of them find out about their son. And her son actually died before they did, even though he also lived for 400 years somehow. But he dies, never telling about his parents. He knew, but they didn't, and then they eventually die as well, because Mavis did eventually wake up from her sleep. So it's very interesting. And then obviously they have to defeat Agnologia, and the whole reason why they went 400 years with these Dragon Slayers is because this 400 years is when all the Lacrima is really high, and so they want all this magical power to defeat Agnologia. And so that's kind of everything there. And obviously when I mean by Xerath at the end there had an entire country with his son August, and a bunch of magical powers attack Fiore, but obviously the good guys win. And so that's pretty much all the story plot points. And so let's kind of go into my thoughts. I love every single character. There are so many good characters. Even some of the villains I really enjoyed. Like, not all of them, but some of them even became like good guys, like Jalal, who was actually friends with Ursa and is actually kind of her love interest, and so there's that as well. But like I said, I love the characters. That's one of the best parts of the show, is the characters, in my opinion. You pretty much enjoy or get attached to all the characters, and So that's kind of my big point with those. Writing wise, the story is like, has it like, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. But other than that, I really don't care about that because I just love the characters and the story anyway. And it's kind of the same thing with me and Marvel and Star Wars. Even though clearly the writing isn't the best at times, I really don't care because I just enjoy the characters. And so that's kind of my thing with this. So if not really into, you want like a really good written show, you're not going to get from this. But I do recommend this because it's a lot of fun. The characters are all the characters are just, I just love all the characters, and I think most people would get attached to all the characters. And that's pretty much everything, guys. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you are new, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified for my next upload. My YouTube channel, website link, my Twitter, my Snapchat, and Instagram are all in the description as always. And thank you. Goodbye.